Last week, we talked about how to determine your financial freedom number using the rule of 25. We covered how you can live off that money indefinitely via the 4% rule, and we looked at the incredible math behind the rule of 72. So this week, let's talk about some practical options you can use for and with your kids to get them started early and take advantage of that doubling power of the rule of 72. We're going to talk about 3 investment vehicles and 1 real estate option: UTMA investment accounts, 529 investment accounts, custodial Roth IRAs, and a little real estate concept called the house hack. Let's get started. First, the UTMA, the UTMA, which stands for the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. It's a fancy name, but what it means is pretty simple. You can open this type of investment account for your kids and start contributing money. Then you'll invest that money in the market. You start taking advantage of the compounding and the rule of 72 that we discussed last week, and you can start that at a really early age. And another cool feature of the UTMA is that relatives can contribute too. So when grandma wants to send gifts of cash, she can still do that, but you can also ask her to contribute to the UTMA investment account. You as the parent control the account until the child turns either 18 or 21, depending on your state. It's a simple, effective way to start your kids on the path to financial independence early. Next is the 529 plan. This is an investment account specifically for education. Most people have heard of these and tend to think of them as a way to save for college, and that is true, but it's also more than that. Yes, the money does need to be used for education, but that includes trade schools. It's not limited to universities. So if you have a kid that doesn't want to go the traditional college route, but really wants to work in a trade, that 529 you started for them as a youngster is still going to be useful. But what if one of your kids doesn't need it at all? Hey, that's okay too. There's lots of flexibility built into 529s. You can even assign that money to another child. And just like with UTMAs, family members can contribute. Plus you get tax advantages. The money grows tax-free and can be withdrawn tax-free. So here's an idea that combines a 529 plan with the rule of 72, and I picked this up from Scott Yamamura. If you start contributing early to a 529 soon after your kid is born, you can get a doubling or 2 before you ever need to pull money from it. In fact, Scott took advantage of this exact concept. He and his wife funded a 529 for their son for a short period of time, and then they stopped. They let the money grow on its own, and thanks to compounding and that rule of 72, their son had enough for 4 years of college before he even graduated high school. Pretty cool. And you can learn more about that at Scott's website, financialepiphany.com, and grab a copy of his book, Financial Epiphany. And he talks a lot about the rule of 72. Okay, next is the Custodial Roth IRA. As an IRA, the contributions have to come from earned income, so you can't start this one for toddlers and start contributing money on their behalf. But once they're older and they do have a job, this is a great way to start your kids early with the habit of setting up automatic contributions to their future selves. And even though Roth IRAs are after-tax contributions, most teenagers aren't earning enough to pay taxes, so they won't ever be taxed on the Roth IRA income. And by the time they are teenagers, you can also work with them to learn and make choices about where to invest that money that's in that Roth IRA. Whole market ETFs, individual stocks or companies that they know, so maybe you can pique their interest a little better, or some sort of a mix. It's a great opportunity to learn together. And as parents, if you own a business, even a part-time business, and you can have your kids work there, maybe it's as simple as cleaning up when they're still pretty young. Not only can they take advantage of the custodial Roth IRA, but you can also potentially lower your taxes for the business because their labor expenses are subtracted from your net gain, which means a smaller amount to be taxed. There's all sorts of ways to take advantage of opportunities that are built right into the system. And finally, let's talk about the house hack. So picture this. Your kid is graduating high school and heading out on their own, whether that's for college or trade school or a job. The usual route is to move out and then you pay rent to a landlord. But what if they put a down payment on a property instead? They still live there with roommates and friends, but instead of paying rent to an owner, they are the owner. The roommates pay rent to them. Your child could live for free or maybe even make a little bit of profit each month. And even if they aren't earning any profit, the savings from not paying rent can be socked away into their investment account. Plus, they own the property, so they're building equity while they're living with their friends. As a parent, if you're aware of this option early, you can start setting money aside from a very young age for that down payment. In fact, maybe that UTMA money that we talked about earlier is the perfect funding source for something like that. So with some awareness and basic knowledge, you can start in your kids' first year of life. and you can set them on the path to financial freedom and loop in other family members to contribute money that can be put to work before your kids even hit kindergarten. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with other parents who want to raise money smart kids. See you next week.